before the election, they put out numbers that it was like the country was on fire. It was doing so well. And then they did a revision about 2 weeks later, and the revision was down by almost 900,000 jobs. You remember that? And I said, I said, what would have happened? What would have happened if I lost? Think of it. I would have said they gave phony numbers, and then they revised them a week and a half later.
All right, so that was wrong, wrong, and wrong. All right, November 1st, just before the election, there was a terrible jobs report. Just 12,000 jobs added. That was November 1st, just days before the election. 12,000 jobs added November 1st, almost as bad as the 2 months we just had during the Trump administration, May and June. After the election, the numbers were revised upward. So that's the second wrong. President Trump was wrong that there was a good jobs report before the election, wrong that it was revised upward. Downward. It was revised upward after the election. He's also wrong about the timing of the huge revision. It came last August, where they said that 800,000 fewer jobs had been added in the last year. It wasn't after the election. All of the revisions that were made in theory before the election last year may very well have been in Trump's favor. So wrong, wrong, and wrong there. With us now, CNN political commentator, host of CNN Smerconish, Michael Smerconish, who I have to say we haven't had a chance to speak to on TV in a while, but thanks to modern technology, we look forward to speaking to you a lot more. I want to talk about the actual revisions themselves, Michael, and how they may just change the prism. You talk to so many people every day. It paints a very different picture when you have months jobs added of 14,000 and 19,000 in May and June. And I wonder what you're hearing people say about the health of this economy, what concerns they have.
It fits a larger narrative that really concerns me about diminished faith in American institutions. Our court system, legal system writ large, politicians, law enforcement. People just don't know who they can believe and on who they can rely. John, I was thinking something as I was watching Elena's report, and it's this. It used to mean something if a local official would call for a federal investigation. That's it. We're going to bring in the feds. Because that signified to people it's going to be no bullshit. Because the feds, they don't play local political games. Those days are over. And the next time that labor numbers come out with the president's pick, who's going to believe them? I guess half the country. It's reminiscent to me of this recent situation at Smithsonian where they've now sanitized, the impeachment display. And people are just going to buy whatever truth suits their political objective. It's not a one-off. This is part of a much larger and very serious problem.
All right, Michael, just before we came to air, I was reading a report from Punchbowl News that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, may be headed to Indiana shortly. And the reason I'm saying that is because he may be headed there to talk about redistricting. Indiana right now has a map that's 7 Republicans, 2 Democrats. Some Republicans think they can get it up as high as 9-0. So talk to me about these mid-decade redistricting fights, this battle that the Republicans may have just launched.
So I don't like it. That won't surprise you. I just don't like the polarization and partisanship that comes from it. My first reaction when this issue arose just a couple of weeks ago was to say, wait a minute, can they do that? Don't we have to wait every 10 years? And now we know they can do it. I have to say, I think Republicans, and I'm not applauding this, far from it, but I think Republicans have an added benefit because a lot of the blue states have already gone through a so-called reform process. Governor Schwarzenegger deserves a lot of credit for professionalizing this process in California. So to those who are thinking, well, if the Republicans do this in Texas, then Democrats will respond in kind in California or in New York or some other blue state. I don't think it's going to be that simple. I don't like it. It sets off a mutually assured destruction that's not in the country's best interest.
Don't the Democrats have to dive in, though? If Republicans pull this off in Texas, what would happen if Democrats just said, sorry, we're not going to play here. We're going to stick with these redistricting commissions?
I agree with you. I don't think, politically speaking, that they have any choice. I'm just trying to say that I don't think that they're going to be effective. And the second thing that I would point out is that as much of a problem as gerrymandering has been historically in this country. As you and I have discussed previously, John, we have an equal issue of self-sorting, which has nothing to do with politicians redrawing boundary lines, but frankly, the like-minded via the internet especially, but now even living among one another, landslide counties, and we don't change the boundary lines of counties, are significantly on the rise. Again, part of a much larger troublesome narrative.
One question I have, and I think we have a little bit of a sound from a Republican town hall that took place yesterday. Mike Flood, a Republican from Nebraska in a +13 Trump district there. I just want to play a little bit of sound when he talked about what Republicans stand for, and you can hear the response.
The Republican Party, now more than ever, represents the heart and soul of the working class.
So there were a lot of boos there in a Trump +13 district, Michael. I guess my question is, with redistricting happening here, even if the Republicans can pick up 5 seats in Texas, what do you think the impact will be on the election? What would be the most animating issues heading into 2026? I know we've got a year to go, but what are you seeing and hearing?
The economy, I think, is always, we'll go back to where we were just a few minutes ago. I think first and foremost, I buy into what James Carville has always said. I think in many respects it'll be a referendum on President Trump, both good and bad, good in red states, bad in blue states. Looking at the historical trends, it's the party that's outside of power. That would be the Democratic Party that would seem to have an advantage, which is the explanation as to why, under pressure from President Trump, Governor Abbott is trying to do what he's doing in Texas. Bottom line, advantage Democrats as things stand now, unless this move can make up a margin.
Yeah. And again, and how far they push it to which other states. Michael Smerconish, so great to see you again. Look forward to talking to you again soon. All right, Russia.